President Obama looks to Europe for support in the war against terrorism. But where are the Dutch? Hello and welcome to this exclusive interview with the Dutch Prime Minister Jan-Peter Balkenende with Radio Netherlands Worldwide. Prime Minister, welcome to the programme.
Oh, thank you.
Now we're going to be talking about your upcoming visit to Washington in just a few minutes. But first I wanted to start off with some sporting news, actually, just fresh out of the Cabinet. It seems that the Cabinet has given its backing to host the 2028 Olympics here in the Netherlands.
It is a great goal. Of course, there's not any certainty that the Netherlands will get it. But it's important to have an ideal, that you have a focus on the longer run. And it's so good that people are saying in the Netherlands, it's good to have this long-term goal, but also to work on the profile of the Netherlands as a sports country.
But still, a multi-billion euro project now at a time of economic crisis.
Yeah, but I think the more important is to talk in terms of what can the Netherlands contribute to sports for young people, what does sports mean for innovation, what is the profile of the Netherlands. So we are talking now about Olympic Games in 2028, 100 years after the Olympic Games in Amsterdam. And it's a very good idea.
So hopefully, obviously, you're going to be hoping that the Olympic Committee is going to see the symbolism of that. Fingers crossed.
But also we are talking about another goal, that is the World Championship Football, together with Belgium in 2018 or 2022.
I've actually found here a brochure dating from the early 1990s, when the Netherlands actually put in an earlier bid to host the Olympics. And here you've actually got the city of Rotterdam that had big grand plans for a stadium. But that's all it ended up being, was a brochure. Are you not worried that with all this competition to host these games, it's going to end up like this again, just a brochure?
You're right, there's a lot of competition, of course. Many cities are interested. Many countries are interested in organizing the Olympic Games, and you don't have a guarantee. But I was at the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games in Athens and also last year in Beijing. And when you are visiting the Olympic Games, it's such a fantastic event. And so I'm very enthusiastic about the idea, but of course it's not for sure that you'll get it. But the fact that people in the Netherlands, our Olympic Committee, is talking about it, I'm very happy with it.
And of course you were in Beijing, as you said, for many of the games. And I think you did quite a lot of hobnobbing with some of your colleagues, including President Putin. Or Mr. Putin.
It was a remarkable evening, you're right, because then he had difficulties between Russia and Georgia. And then I spoke with President Putin, but also with President Bush. It was an exciting evening, I must say.
All right. Now, let's move on to some more pressing matters. Actually, on July the 14th, you're going to be visiting President Obama in Washington. And we're going to be talking about that in just a minute. But first, Prime Minister, I just wanted to get you to just look at a short film.
Prime Minister, it's a great pleasure to have you here. I look forward to our private engagement. Great honor for me to have Prime Minister Wim Kok here. He's been an outstanding leader of Europe as well as the Netherlands.
It's such an honor for me to welcome you in the Oval Office. I believe that you're proving that you're really one of the leaders of Europe. Hey, Jean-Peter.
George,
welcome back.
how are you?
I'm doing great.
Things are going all right.
Sit down,
Many
please.
things to talk about.
Oh. Thank you for your clear understanding about the need for us to work together to achieve a more free and peaceful world.
Well, Prime Minister, I just saw you laugh there with some of the shots. I mean, very informal. Hey, Jan-Peter! Incredibly pally, friendly relationship that you had with President Bush.
No, we had a very good contact with each other, and it's always nice to meet each other, especially in the White House, of course. Of course, there were also points of discussion. When we spoke about the Kyoto Protocol, when we talked about environmental issues, then we could also disagree. When we talked about Guantanamo Bay, we had different opinions. But another aspect, we were close friends.
A very good personal chemistry. I mean, you've met now, of course, the successor President Obama 2 or 3 times, briefly, until now. What kind of feeling, what kind of rapport do you get with him?
Well, let me start by mentioning the fact that he wrote a beautiful letter to me and my family when my father died. And it was a letter with condolences, and I really appreciate it. Afterwards, I phoned with him to congratulate him with his presidency, but also we talked about important issues like the WTA negotiations. We talked about the climate issue and so on. And not so long ago, then we met 3 times in 1 week at the G20 meeting in London. And then we had the NATO summit, because the NATO exists for 60 years. And then we had a meeting with the European heads of government. So we had a lot of meetings, and I was very enthusiastic about his personality.
And of course now you're going to be spending a lot more time now at the White House, but you also know that there are some requests coming up from the American side. Which leads me on to a question from one of our viewers, actually from Colombia. Jose Manuel Cardoso asks, why did the Netherlands turn down President Obama's request to take on inmates from Guantanamo when it has criticised this facility in the past and is itself a centre for international justice and often likes to present itself as a loyal partner to the United States?
Maybe I will discuss this issue also with President Obama. There are some legal difficulties taking up people from Guantanamo Bay. But I must also say that in Europe we are working together with other countries to find solutions for it.
But a lot of other European countries, Belgium, Italy, Portugal, have already said yes. And you have a lot of this expertise here, and you have plenty of room in your prisons. That's not an issue.
No, but we will think about it, but there are also complex issues around it. So we will have a discussion, I suppose, about it. And but
so it's
for
not,
the time
you're
being,
not categoric for the it's not a categoric no.
We've always said no. You know our position, but of course we will have a discussion about it.
Because of course, I mean, there are expectations, and in fact, Dutch newspaper NRC earlier this week ran a story where it actually says it's an open secret that the Netherlands is struggling to build up a good relationship with President Obama, as good as what it had with President Bush. And of course, one of the other reasons for that is Afghanistan. Because the Dutch are pulling out at the end of next year, no longer a lead nation. What are the plans after that?
But I also want to underline the fact that we've done many things in Afghanistan. We have 1,600 troops in Uruzgan, but we have also our F-16s, our helicopters, also people who are active in Kabul. So we've done a lot of activities. Then first we took the decision to stay there for 2 years. And then we took another decision to stay for 2 years more. So that's a real a significant contribution. And then we have to wait and see what we can do in other activities. In any case, we will go on with development cooperation.
But for instance, I mean, let's talk about development cooperation, because for instance, in the province where the Dutch soldiers are now, Uruzgan, lots of Dutch development projects. Who's going to protect those? Foreign troops, once the Dutch pull out?
Yeah, but when we talk about development cooperation, let me give an example. Then you can see that the NGOs are very active. And I've met also the representatives. These NGOs are not Dutch people, these are the locals, Afghan people who are working there. Of course, they need also military support for their security. But that is not only linked to, let's say, Dutch people. We have also Australians in that area. So if another country would be there, they also can take up their responsibility for the protection of these people who work in development cooperation.
But still, you know very well that the request that's going to come from the White House when you go on the 14th of July is, are you going to find a way to keep some soldiers on the ground after 2010?
These are points we have to discuss, but the decision is clear. We will stay in Uruzgan till the August 2010.
And also be keeping a fighting capacity after that? We
will see what we can do, but that's a point of discussion within our cabinet, and of course we will see what will happen.
Now, a lot has been made in Europe about the charisma that President Obama, and in fact Michelle Obama also has. They've been here, a presidential couple, a couple of times. And we've had a question here from the United States, Massachusetts, Audrey Fairhurst. She says, politics is becoming ever more personal. President Obama's wife, Michelle, often accompanies him on trips. And Nicolas Sarkozy, the French leader, often takes Carla with him. Why do we never see, for instance, Mr. Merkel or Mrs. Balkenende?
It's a bit difficult, I think, to compare the situation in the United States with, let's say, the Prime Minister of the Netherlands. We have another situation. let me start by saying that I can only do my work when I have the full support of my wife Bianca and our daughter Amelie. And I like my work, but it takes a lot of time. You're always away. I never can eat at home during
But isn't that a better reason then, if you're always away, to take your spouse with you?
Yeah, but on the other hand, she has her responsibilities. And let me give an example. Not so long ago, President Medvedev of the Russian Federation was in Amsterdam because of the opening of the Hermitage. It's beautiful. And
New museum.
If people are visiting Amsterdam, you have to visit the Hermitage. It's beautiful. So on the Friday evening, that was the official event with our Queen and with the President Medvedev. But the next day, I had bilateral meetings with President Medvedev, but then my wife accompanied Mrs. Medvedev. And it was very nice when we had a tour by boat in one of the canals in Amsterdam. And then Bianca went with the wife of President Medvedev to the museum, the Rijksmuseum. So
she's involved.
She's involved.
Just one last question. Of course, holidays coming up. A lot of our viewers been asking, where does the Prime Minister go on holiday? I know usually you keep this a secret, but can you give it just a hint?
It's a state secret.
It's a state secret.
I'm not allowed to give remarks about it. No, because that has to do with security reasons. So for other ministers, they are telling, well, I'm going to France, to Italy. But no, I'm not allowed to say that. Okay. I really hope that I have sun, but I wish that everybody has a good
And one of your I think a vice minister from the economics ministry said, encouraging the Dutch people now to stay in the Netherlands for their holidays.
I disagree with that.
You disagree with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the responsibility of people for themselves. They have to decide whether they will go abroad or when they want to stay in the Netherlands. That's their business. All
right. Well, we look forward to seeing you after the holidays, Prime Minister Balkenende. Thank you so much for this interview. And we hope that you'll be joining us as well in September. Thank you so much for watching.